podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Now entering the PNRNetworks arena, coming down the aisle from Revere, Massachusetts, weighing in at absolutely none of your business. It's the Mistress of Mayhem, the Queen of Quips. It's time for Ring Around the Rosie with your hostess, Kim Brown.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Ring Around the Rosie. I'm Kim Brown, aka Platinum Rose Lady, aka the hostess of this show who's been very MIA lately. I'm terribly sorry about that. I do owe you folks an explanation, and the explanation is I got sick. Ta-da! I got bronchitis, and it really messed up my voice. It was causing coughing to the point where I was seeing stars. It was just really fucking awful. But I'm better now. So I'm back, and it is Tuesday, the 16th of July, as I'm recording this, and I hope everybody's summer is going really well. It's summer here in Massachusetts, and it's fucking hot and fucking humid, and fuck that. I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, oh yay, it's summer and it's hot and it's wonderful. Let's go to the beach and drink, beer and do all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you guys have fun. I'm going to Barnes & Noble, find a comfortable chair, and sit there for 8 hours or until they kick me out of the store because it's closing, whichever comes first, because they have air conditioning. I'm just not, I'm a fall winter person. I am not a spring summer person because I don't like to sweat. I don't particularly like bugs, and I don't tan. I don't. I have very, 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 not quite Seamus level, but close, pale skin, so I don't tan. I have what happens at the end of a Christopher Lee Dracula film, the flames and screaming and burning and sizzling flesh and all that. That's what it's like for me going out in the sun. So I prefer to keep my milky white complexion, the whole just dug out of a fresh grave corpse look, It's not quite that bad, but it's close. So what are we going to talk about this week? Obviously, we're going to talk about the most recent WWE pay-per-view, the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, which was held this past Sunday at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Amazingly enough, a city I actually have been to, so that's nice. My husband and I went to Philadelphia, oh gosh, a very long time ago, good grief, to one of the ECW shows, and it was great. We went to Lulu Temple, we went to the arena. It was a lot of fun, and we had a great time. Everyone talks about how hostile, people are in Philly and stuff like that. Everyone was super nice to us. I don't know. I guess we just exude auras that say, be kind to them. Either that or they just figure out that if you fuck with her, she's going to go completely crazy. I don't know. Whichever. It works. So let's get into the show itself. Now, the Extreme Rules show, because of, the whole extreme thing, it's supposed to be, hardcore matches, hardcore rules are relaxed, so on and so forth, blah, blah. Which, of course, led to a couple of times where I was like, what? With a few things, but that's just my own take on stuff. The announced team was Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Renee Young for Raw, and Corey Graves and Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton for SmackDown. Anybody remember that whole routine from Animaniacs? Are we being punished? Yes. like that. With certain people, because certain people just drive me insane, whose initials are Corey Graves. The thing that I find really interesting, and before we get to the actual show, was the fact that some people on Twitter have actually been like, oh, Corey Graves should treat Renee Young better. He should, because she's a woman, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? Don't you kind of realize that what you're saying is basically promoting sexism? You're basically saying that Renee is a delicate little flower and can't take a heel announcer, considering the fact that most of the time she winds up, smoking Corey like a salmon. My whole thing is that when you have, announcers at the desks and stuff like that, and announcers, color commentators, whatever you want to call them, you always had people snapping back at each other. Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan used to, rag on each other all the time. And other people did too. For anybody to be like, oh, well, she should be treated differently because she's a woman. No, that's not what women fought for. Equal rights means equal rights. If you are out there and, if he was saying something truly filthy and terrible, then I'd be like, whoa, hey, back up. And I'd also personally think that Renee would bust him in the mouth and I would laugh like a supervillain. But, I do that. I just found that ridiculous. I was like, wow, that's really what you're going to get all up in arms about. Okay. I don't get it. So, very into it crowd for the most part. There were a few points when they were a little bit on the, less than enthusiastic side, but, it happens. You have moments where you just can't cheer anymore. It just occurs. So, the pre-show, involved two matches. The first match was Finn Balor, who was defending his Intercontinental Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura. Okay, what is wrong with that sentence? Finn Balor, Intercontinental Champion, is defending his belt against Shinsuke Nakamura on the pre-show. What the actual fuckity fuck? I'm sorry, what? I am completely mystified, gobsmacked, don't get it. I was completely, and still am, going, what is the writing team fucking smoking? He is the Intercontinental fucking champion. The belt that has been held by people like Ricky Steamboat, Randy Savage, Tito Santana, Greg Valentine, all these amazing athletes, and Finn Balor, who is an amazing athlete in his own right, along with being ridiculously smoking fucking hot. Oops. Did I say that out loud? Oh, darn. Seriously, I would drink champagne off his abs in a second. Wow. It was, as you would figure with these two, an amazing match. The end of the match involved Finn going for his finisher, the coup de grace, which he missed, and Nakamura succeeding in performing a Kinshasa. So Shinsuke Nakamura, with the pin, becomes the Intercontinental Champion. This is his first run as Intercontinental Champion. And Corey Graves will not shut the fuck up. See, that's the thing. That's something I miss. I'm gonna do this now, and I'm gonna bring up Corey because he's the most convenient target. So there's that. I understand that you need heel announcers. I get that. I am not gonna sit here and be all like, everybody who's on the announce team should be all sweetness and light and baby ducks and stuff like that, and everybody should get along perfectly. However, there is such a thing as overdoing it. Corey Graves overdoes it. That's all I'm going to say. The next match was for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship with Drew Gulak, the champion, defending his belt against Tony Nese. The match was won by Drew by use of an Argentine neckbreaker, not to be confused with the Argentine Tango, because that would be a different show, which he performed on Nese to keep his belt. So we have the actual beginning of the show, because we just had two fucking amazing matches that don't count. Although the next night, Finn Balor's night would be even worse, because he would be attacked by a returning Bray Wyatt in his whole scary demon gimmick. I don't know what the fuck he's doing with this whole fiend thing. I don't get it. Somebody needs to call the Winchesters because it's completely fucking me over. So, we begin the show with a tag team match with the tag team match with the only, no, I tell a lie, that's not fair. I was going to say the only tag team match I was actually interested in this whole pay-per-view, but that's not accurate. But we begin the show with Roman Reigns teaming up with The Undertaker. I've had dreams like that, and they're double teaming me. Good night, everybody. Anyway, Roman Reigns and The Undertaker facing Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre in a no-holds-barred tag team match. Because, fuck if I know. Fuck if I know why this happened. I do have to say that I love whoever came up with calling the team of The Undertaker and Roman Reigns the Graveyard Dogs. I love that. I love that to bits. If I could draw, I would love to be able to draw the imagery that I see in my head. But since I can't draw and everything comes out looking like stick figures done by a drunk 2-year-old, you'll just have to believe that the stuff in my head looks really, really cool. Now, we have all, and by we, me, I'm saying we as in the fans, have made it very, very, very tax 75 more varies on there clear. We are fucking sick to death of Shane McMahon. We are sick to death of Shane McMahon being put over people who actually do this for a living most of the year, as opposed to Shane, who does it maybe half dozen times. It used to be fun watching Shane throw himself off something once a year. It amused me. You all don't want to know the other things that amuse me. Of course, because Shane is a bitch and Drew McIntyre is Shane's bitch, this didn't actually go through as a, straight up match, because when The Undertaker was going to put the last ride on Shane, he was attacked by Elias. Because Elias is also Shane's bitch? I don't know. It was really, but I gotta say, it was a hell of a match. It was physical as fuck. The end of it, when The Undertaker was almost claymored, but Roman Reigns charged in the ring and almost speared Drew McIntyre into the next area code. That was crazy. Loved it. The end of the match came when Roman literally threw Shane at The Undertaker, and Taker gave him the tombstone pile driver, and that was it. That was the end of the match. But it wasn't over. It wasn't completely over, because we had a moment in the ring, settle down, between The Undertaker and Roman Reigns, where you could pretty much say that the torch got passed. It was an intense moment, and Roman left the ring, and then The Undertaker was left in the ring alone, and there was this strange sense of finality about it. I mean, if that was the last match for The Undertaker, he went out on a high. I have a feeling it may not be. I personally think that this happened. I mean, maybe it was always supposed to happen like this. I don't know. But if anybody were to ask my opinion, which I know they're not, yes, I actually just quoted the Fellowship of the Ring. I'm a nerd. Ta-da! I think they did this basically because everybody talked about, and not in a good way, the match that Undertaker had with Bill Goldberg at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. And besides the fact that it was a terrible idea and they should get the fuck out of that deal, everybody said this match was awful. Most people laid the blame for why the match was awful at Bill Goldberg's feet. And I think The Undertaker wanted to show he still has something in the tank. I will never stop doubting The Undertaker. I will never stop caring for The Undertaker. And I will never stop loving The Undertaker. There, I said it. Not sorry, not ashamed. I'm a woman. I have needs. Don't judge me. The Raw Tag Team belts were up in the next match. Sorry, I'm a little bit, my tongue's a little fuzzy because I'm just home from work, so I've been talking for 7+ hours on my job. So the Raw Tag Team champions, who are the Revival, Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, who I still don't care about, going against Jimmy and Jey Uso, who I actually do care about. I'm sorry, I don't know what it is about the Revival that I don't like. I mean, I know they're heels, and you're not supposed to like the heels, heel poppers notwithstanding, and I can occasionally be a heel popper. But there's something about these guys that irks me. They irk me. I couldn't even tell you why. They just irk me. The match was won by the Revival after a performance of their finishing move, the Shatter Machine, on Jimmy Uso, and the Revival keep the titles, and I still don't care. The next match was a Raw versus Smackdown match, but not in a, big Survivor Series kind of way. They've been running these vignettes the last couple of weeks of Aleister Black looking into the camera and talking about how he's looking for someone to fight him. Okay. I mean, you be you, bro. And, being all like, that he's going to tear apart whoever steps up to this challenge. And then the challenge was met by Cesaro from Raw, who had this whole thing where he stepped into camera view in this all-white outfit. I'm like, what are we going for here? I don't get the look. And he said that he would be happy to fight Aleister. Okay. Again, you be you. That's great. I have to say, Aleister Black has one of the coolest entrances. That whole thing where he comes up on this slab that kind of... It's very reminiscent, and again, I'm going to be branded as a nerd. I don't care. It's very reminiscent to me of the old Universal monster movies, with Frankenstein's monster and that kind of stuff. It's very reminiscent of that. And since Aleister's whole look looks like he just stepped out of a Rob Zombie movie, and I mean that in the nicest possible way, sir. Please don't hurt me. He is a scary looking individual. I'm sorry. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, and he's an amazing athlete, and I'm sure he's a lovely person. But seriously, how would you like to have that show up at your door? Hi, I'm here to take your daughter to prom. Yike. Great match, very physical match between these two guys, with Cesaro going for one of his finishing maneuvers in a neutralizer, which Black managed to counter and performed his finishing maneuver, the Black Mass, to win. Aleister Black with the win. I'm not going to tell anybody how to run their lives or do that or anything like that, but calling something the Black Mass, I get it. It's his name. It's got a spooky kind of connotation to it, but there's certain bears you really shouldn't poke. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Another belt was up in the next match, and that was the SmackDown Women's Championship with Bayley, whom I happen to adore. My husband notwithstanding, because he can be a giant buzzkill. He doesn't like Bayley, and he doesn't like Bayley's little arm wiggly things. I know one of the Bayley Buddies. He doesn't like the Bayley Buddies. But, to each their own. With Bayley defending her belt in a handicap match with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, who are both from Raw. The whole thing of the match was, Nikki Cross, desperately trying to prove how she's Alexa's, best friend, and Alexa's her best friend, and so on and so forth, and it's so fucking painful. It's so fucking painful simply because, and for the simple fact of the matter being, that Nikki Cross could wrestle rings around Alexa Bliss, and doesn't need Alexa Bliss. And am I saying that because Nikki's a member of the Supernatural family? Maybe. We stick together. And the end of the match saw Bayley winning after countering the Twisted Bliss, which is one of Alexa's moves, and using a diving elbow drop. on Nikki Cross, actually. So, because Alexa was out of the way, and so Bayley keeps her title. Next up was a last man standing match between two very large, scary individuals, and that's just the way, I like it. Bobby Lashley going against Braun Strowman. Now, last man standing match, I really shouldn't have to tell you guys what that means. It's, you're a smart group, you get it. You fight till somebody can't get up. Also called Southie on a Friday night. I'm kidding. Love you, Southie. You're wonderful. Don't ever change. Is it me or did Braun Strowman cut his hair? Did he cut his hair? Did he slick his hair back? Something looked different. I don't know what, other than the fact that he looks like he's lost a little weight. Looks like he's a little more toned, which is great. He's an amazing person and an incredibly intimidating human being. And this went friggin' everywhere. This went all over the friggin' building. I love the fact that at one point when they were fighting, they were outside of the ring. They were out they went up the stairs and did this, that, and the other thing. And they're fighting in the hallway, which has been conveniently cleared of people. And there was a sign on the wall saying, this area under construction, blah, blah. I figured somebody was going to go through that wall. That did not happen, although a souvenir stand did give its life in the goings of this match. So pour one out for the souvenir stand. And you never know, people might have grabbed a free t-shirt or two. The thing that I really don't get, I have to say this, and I might get accused in these very volatile times of sounding like I'm slagging on my fellow Americans. And I am. I'm sorry. American crowds, when it comes to professional wrestling, when there are professional wrestlers out in the crowd, Japanese crowds have it all over American crowds. You know why? Because they move the fuck out the way. They're gone. They're beyond gone. They're color me gone. Ring, ring, who's out on the phone? It's gone. It's for you. They're fucking gone. Americans just stand there like fucking deers in the headlights, or they're standing there waving at the camera while some 300-pound, furious professional wrestler is beating the hell out of some other 300-pound furious professional wrestler 2 feet away from them. Fuck you. I'm getting the fuck out the way. I've been to ECW shows where you couldn't move and shit's flying everywhere and people are flying everywhere. Spoiler alert, that's not fun. I've been to indie shows where, people didn't get out of the way in time, and I can attest from personal experience, having a chain suddenly wrap around your ankle doesn't feel good. It hurts. I won't mention which show that happened at because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but it was not fun and it hurt. The match, like I mentioned, went everywhere. The end of the match saw this fight on top of a platform that was conveniently over this. It was a platform and underneath it was, I thought it was an entranceway or something, but there were other, things under there. And Braun Strowman grabbed Bobby Lashley and performed did a power slam with the announcers going crazy and acting like it was an electrified cage match from Japan. Braun managed to get to his feet before the 10 count, so the winner of the last man standing match, Braun Strowman. It was great. It was what you would expect from a last man standing match in the fact that it got completely bonkers. Would I be a bad person if I said I was kind of waiting for some blood? Would that mean that I'm a terrible human being? Fuck it, I'll live with it. I don't know, man. It's Extreme Rules. You're in Philadelphia and you have a last man standing match and there's no blood? Not even a little? Have I mentioned lately how much I miss ECW? I really do. The next match was for the Smackdown Tag Team Champions with champions Daniel Bryan and Rowan defending their belts against Big E and Xavier Woods from the New Day. and the team of Heavy Machinery, Otis and Tucker. Otis. Yeah. I don't get why you'd want to name a wrestler after an elevator company, but whatevs. Anyway, the final portion of the match, this was another, triple threat matches are fun, but the big problem with the triple threat match is that there's stuff happening fucking everywhere. You know, there's people over here, there's people over there. You know, it's just, it's nuts. And if you're trying to follow one person, you know, you're going to miss something else that happened over there. It just gets aggravating. The end of the match saw Daniel Bryan being the one to get pinned by Xavier Woods, and so the New Day have won the Smackdown Tag Team Championship, which is, as far as I'm concerned, awesome, because Daniel Bryan fucking irritates me now. I'm sorry. I still find it hilariously funny that Daniel Bryan, you know, had to retire for a while because of concussions, and people were so distraught when he retired, you know, and people were always talking about him, and, you know, a lot of people were really, you know, they were saying that, you know, he was in their prayers, he was someone that and when, you know, when he came back, everybody lost their fucking minds. And then he turns heel. Not only does he turn heel, but the fans didn't even attempt to try and be like, nope, we're not accepting him as a heel. They were, honest to goodness, they sounded like they wanted to flay him alive a couple of times. They were so furious with him. And I find that incredibly fascinating. I don't go along with Daniel's whole thing that fans are fickle and all that. It's just the fact that when you stab somebody in the heart, they tend to get pissed. And Payback is a fucking bitch. And she has a long memory, and she's very, 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 very patient. And don't piss her off. Stupid. Following that was the United States Championship, held by Ricochet, who has one of the coolest themes ever and has awesome ring gear. I love his ring gear. I'm sorry. I just love it. The whole kind of, the black outfit that he has, it's kind of like a superhero look to it. I dig it. I completely dig it. Going against AJ Styles, who has, since the last time I talked to you guys, AJ turned heel, which was one of the things that I specifically put on my list of stuff way the fuck back at the beginning of the motherfucking year. Do not turn AJ Styles heel. Thank you so fucking much, WWE, for listening. Fuck clowns. And because he is now heel and has put the club back together, not the Bullet Club, just the club, he is accompanied by Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. And since it seems like they can't do anything separate from each other, or I don't know what the fuck will happen. I think they'll all just, you know, pass out. I don't know. Before the match even started, Ricochet was jumped by the members of the club and beaten up pretty badly before the match even got going. And AJ wound up winning the match by the Styles Clash to win the United States Championship for the third time. But, it's terribly ironic. I mean, it's terribly, terribly Alanis Morissette ironic, don't you think? That AJ wins for the third time, and it took 3 people to beat Ricochet to do it. Isn't that something? Yeah, it's something. It's called It Sucks. Kevin Owens came out and fought Dolph Ziggler. We had this whole thing where Kevin Owens had come out the week before and come out on Smackdown and basically ripped Shane McMahon a new asshole, and it was glorious. Caused a whole bunch of chaos that night, and by the end of the evening, I would have definitely got down on my knees and given Kevin Owens a hearty handshake. What did you think I was going to say? Anyway. This match was short. Real short. Super short. About 20 seconds short. I've had laughing fits that have lasted longer than that, although I did laugh very long and very hard after this match. I don't know if Kevin's a heel or a face right now. I think he's just a very aggressive, pissed off tweener, which somehow seems more dangerous than anything else. I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to make him into the new Steve Austin. I don't really know. I'm like, don't we have that with Becky? I'm not really sure. The next match was the WWE Championship, which is being defended by Kofi Kingston, going against Samoa Joe. Samoa, I should really, really, really think about going to AEW, Joe. I'm sorry. Although I have to say, the whole time that they've had Joe in the WWE, his whole thing has been, that he's Samoa Joe and he's this sadistic motherfucker and blah, 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 blah. Nowhere did that get shown as much as it did tonight. They had done this segment on Smackdown where Joe had told Kofi that all he had to do was shake Kofi's hand, and he promised he wouldn't hurt anyone else around Kofi to get to Kofi. Kofi made like he was going to shake Joe's hand and then flipped him off, which is probably what I think most of us would have done, really. Joe focused quite a few times on trying to break Kofi's hand or possibly just rip out the finger from the knuckle, I don't know which, including an attack on the steel steps that looked positively evil. Joe did almost get a pinfall by using a power slam, but which Kofi then used the SOS to almost get a pinfall. He wound up winning with his signature move, Trouble in Paradise, and Kofi is still the WWE champion. Now, earlier in the evening, Paul Heyman had brought up that Brock Lesnar, who won the Money in the Bank match, fuck me. Oh, I hated saying that. That hurt. Saying that actually brought me physical pain. That Brock was going to cash in on one of the champions tonight. So I think Kofi might have been a little nervous. The final match of the evening was a last chance winners take all Extreme Rules match. That's really long. It was a mixed tag team match with Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch going against Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. Now, the stips with this match were on both sides of things. If Seth and Becky won, then Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans would never be able to ask for another match with where the title would be on the line ever again. If Baron Corbin or Lacey Evans won, then both Seth and Becky would lose their belts to them. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, in the ring and outside the ring, the real people behind those characters, are in a relationship, and they haven't been shy about bringing that up, which I would think might make them both a little uncomfortable, but what do I know? I do have to say, speaking just as a person, not even so much as a wrestling fan, but just as a person, they are one of the most ridiculously attractive couples I have ever seen, ever. I'm sorry, and I've been around for Bennifer, Brangelina, all that stuff. Nope, Seth and Becky, all the way. Seth and Becky forever, or five ever, or however the kids say it. Did I actually say how the kids say it? Oh, fuck. The promos and stuff beforehand were Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans talking about how, because Seth and Becky are in a relationship, feelings are involved and all this stuff like that and so on and so forth and whatever else Lacey Evans says, because after a while, I just tune the fuck out. And ironically enough, that's the same thing that happens when Baron Corbin starts talking. Baron Corbin starts talking and I start singing Disney tunes. It's just, I don't know what that is. I don't know what causes that. Oh no, wait, I do. I hate him. That would be it, yeah. This was nasty. There were kendo sticks involved and it got physical as fuck. And it was great. It was really, really great. Lacey Evans coming out to the ring with Seth's name on the back of her trunks. Charming. I don't know how they refer to that if you're a sassy Southern belle. I can tell you how we refer to it if we're a, fed up Bostonian. We'd call you a whore. Shit got real personal, though, when Baron Corbin delivered, he grabbed Becky Lynch when Seth was not in the ring at that moment. And I'd like to bring up, Becky was not attacking Corbin. She had her back turned to him. He grabs her and gives her an end of days. And the crowd went fucking apeshit. And guess what else? Seth Rollins went absolutely mental and practically beat Baron Corbin into unconsciousness using a kendo stick and a chair. And 3 curb stomps. And it was hot. It was hot. And, you really can sprain your wrist doing certain things. Like applauding. Yes, applauding. I was applauding. Yep. Why? What did you think I meant? So, Seth gets the pin. That means his title is safe and Becky's title is safe and everything is wonderful. And then Brock fucking Lesnar's music starts and Brock Lesnar comes down to the ring with Paul Heyman, cashes in his Money in the Bank match, briefcase, and 2 German suplexes and an F5 later onto Seth Rollins, who's just had one of the most violent matches in his fucking career. And Brock Lesnar is a 3rd-time Universal Champion. And I am so mother fucking mad I could throw something. I don't remember the last time I have gotten this. My problem is I'm Irish, part Irish. So we have a temper. Becky's living proof of that. And I went from 0 to Hulk smash so fast, I'm amazed I didn't give myself a nosebleed. And the crowd was fucking livid, and I was fucking livid because I don't know how we're supposed to say this any other way but involving frickin' skywriting. We don't want Brock Lesnar as our champion. He has no respect for this business. He has no respect for the other people in the business. He has no respect for the fans. Fuck him. We want him gone. And we don't want him holding the damn belt hostage. This pay-per-view was going to get a very solid B+ from me. The end of this pay-per-view knocked it down to a B-. Fuck you, WWE. I cannot wait for the next AEW pay-per-view. Congratulations. Real quick, the next night on Raw, there was a battle royal held to see who was going to be the number 1 contender who will face Brock at SummerSlam, which was won by Seth Rollins. So what the actual fuck was the fucking point? I mean, fuck me gently with a chainsaw. I have no idea what any of this proves. Other than we're going to get a rematch from WrestleMania, which I guess will be kind of interesting, although during that match, Brock fucking phoned it in. Really, talk about what was a really good pay-per-view, and then leaving you with a taste in your mouth sour than a rotten lemon. Really. So, that's my look at Extreme Rules. I'd love to know what you guys thought of it. If you'd like to send an email along to platinumroselle@yahoo.com with your opinions, I will definitely read it on the air. And I hope you will check out the other things that we are involved with on the interwebs, including you can check me out on Twitter at platinumroselle@twitter.com. And you can check out the other shows that we do on Twitter, that we do on the internet. The we being me and my sweet, adorable, long-suffering husband, TC, who puts up with my insanity. Our shows include Subject Cinema, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, Platinum Rose's Garden, which is on a hiatus, but you can listen to our older stuff. What else did I? Front Row 5 and 10, Catastrophe Vortex. You can find all of our stuff on our YouTube channel if you'd like. Go look up PNRNetworks and you'll find us there. And you can also check out some friends of ours who have their own shows, including Eric and Valerie, who have Cave Babble, which is a great show, and our buddy Anthony Lamberti over on YouTube at Aunt B's Nerd Grotto, and Comic Grotto, I'm sorry. And I hope that everybody has a great week. And if you're in the Northeast, the next couple of days are going to suck heat-wise. So manage to try and stay cool and stay hydrated. I know I will. So this is Kim Brown signing off for another week here on Ring Around the Rosie, and I'll be back next week.
You have been listening to Ring Around the Rosie with Kim Brown, a production of PNR Networks. Keep in touch with all things about the show at http://ringaroundtherosie.net. Ring Around the Rosie intro performed by Eric Lyon. Ring Around the Rosie theme by Digital Juice. Join Kim for a new Ring Around the Rosie every Wednesday. Ring Around the Rosie is copyright 2018 PNR Networks, Boston, Massachusetts, USA.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.